my first guest on, which is Mallory Mundy, and I'm so excited. She's going to talk about your personal brand and who are you becoming. Mallory, I've known for a long time, and she has gone through. Oopsie, why is that not changing for me? She's gone through a lot of transformation. She made this post, which I thought was so beautiful, and I was like, "Can we please talk about this?" Um, at the end of 2020, 2021 was a rough year for me physically and mentally. And Andy, her husband, had just had major lung surgery for cancer after a very scary medical ordeal. I got sick with COVID and was dealing with lingering breathing issues, all while juggling a big job with a lot of responsibilities. Then the cherry on top, my aunt was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and was given 6 weeks to live from diagnosis. I stayed with her for multiple weeks and said goodbye. The day after I got back home, she passed. I was dealing with some form of PTSD from Andy's medical scare and grief from losing someone I love so much. Life got away from me. My health took backseat priority. I drank a lot. I ate a lot, and I sat at a desk for the majority of my days. Change was much needed, and I'm so proud of who I am now. That dark year was rough, but there were always light at the end of the tunnel. Prioritize yourself, make your health important, make your happiness important, and put in the work because you're worth it. I love that so much. And I'm going to stop the share and talk to Mallory for a little bit. All right. Mallory.
Melanie, hello.
Hey, darling.
Ooh, my face is on the big screen.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, let's have a conversation because, girl, I've known you a very long time and you really, when that happened with Andy, right? You really transformed your entire life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like literally moving, it's the physical, it's everything. You moved your environment, you changed the career, you made it work for you. You've created multiple jobs, multiple businesses that you run. What gave you the strength to do that? Because it's about becoming and branding. Because I think all of us brand ourselves. And the more authentic we are in that branding of ourselves, the more successful we'll be. So tell us a little bit about how did you find the strength to do that?
Yeah. So, just a little bit about me. So I came back to Keller Williams, with the advice of Melanie. Lots of phone conversations and just talking through things. And so I became a team leader back in Austin. And oh gosh, I started in August, and December, everything happened. Everything changed in our lives. So my husband got sick about October, around Halloween. He walked down our driveway, and when he walked back up our driveway, he couldn't breathe. And I was like, oh gosh, it's COVID. Like, let's get you a test. Let's see, and I'm in the office. So we wanted to make sure, we're not getting anyone else sick because this time was a real scary time in our lives. And so he went to just a doc in the box, the tiny little urgent cares. And they said, let's give you a chest x-ray and see what's going on. And so when they pulled up the x-ray, the lady at the front desk said, I can't tell you what this is, but there's something in your lung. It could be an infection. It could be, something more serious. You need to go get a CT scan. So they gave him some antibiotics, and thank goodness those antibiotics did not make him feel better, because we would have never gone through this, as early as we did. And so we tried to get in with the doctor. With COVID, it was really hard to see a doctor at this point. And so December 9th, I remember it like it was yesterday. I had my little work computer and I was doing some recruiting calls and messaging, and Andy was going in for just a routine biopsy where they would go in, scope his lung, see what was in there, pull a sample out, and pathology was there to see if, it was cancer or not. And I sat there, and it was just this God-given moment where my body just started shaking out of control, and I knew something was wrong. I called my dad. I said, Dad, I think something's happening. And he goes, well, did anyone tell you anything's happening? And I said, no. And he goes, Mallory, I'm at work right now. Just focus. You're freaking yourself out. And then I said, okay. And I got real panicky, and I could just feel it. And I hear on the speaker, code something, code something. And there was no one in this wing. And it was just me in this hallway. And everyone had ran out. And the nurse came back to me and said, hey, honey, we're going to roll him back by. We got to go right back into the x-ray to make sure we have everything we need. Don't be alarmed. Everything's fine. I said, okay. So I calmed down. 2 minutes later, I am sick. I knew something was wrong. And These two nurses came by and they didn't know that I was sitting in that room, and I could hear them. She was like, "Oh, something happened, something happened." And I started panicking. I called my dad again. He goes, "Did someone tell you something happened?" I said, "No." He said, "Mallory, really at this time I'm at work, so please stop bothering me. Let me know if anything happens." And sure enough, the nurse comes in and she is just kind of white in the face. And she said, "Honey, the doctor's about to come in to talk to you. Something has happened. He is going to an emergency life-saving surgery right now." And this is a routine biopsy. And so I am shaking, I'm blacking out. I call my dad. I said, "Dad, someone told me something happened." He goes, "I want you to calm down, get out your phone and take notes with what they tell you, because you're going to hear what you want to hear and you need to be very clear-minded on this part." So he came back, and basically he had an aneurysm on the table and his lungs filled with lung or blood, and they could not stop it. And so he went into the emergency surgery for 8.5 hours. I have never been in a hospital at this point. I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't know what to say, didn't know what to think, just praying to God, this is going to work. He's going to be okay. So I remember I called Diane Johnson and I said, "Diane, I don't know what to do about work." And she said, "Don't worry about work. Don't worry about work." And she's like, "You figure out what you need to do. We're all here for you." And I just remember like knowing that everyone was surrounding me and protecting me almost. And so went through that. He gets out of emergency surgery. He is in ICU. He's totally intubated. I'd never seen that before in my life. It's burned in my brain. And they said, "Yep, it's cancer." So we're going to have to go back in and take out half his lung. And so I am just fully floored. And the big point of this whole story, he's cancer-free now. But the night before we went into this routine biopsy, we fought over a soup spoon. Who is going to wash this spoon? We're both stressed out. And I said, "This cannot be my last conversation with my husband, my life partner. This can't be it." And so we go through this. And the moment he got out of that hospital, I told God and I told myself, I promised him, I said, "This is going to change. We're not going to make our lives all about work. We're not going to make our lives about fighting over soup spoons and who's going to wash the dishes, because those things don't matter at the end of the day. It's your family, it's your health, it's who you love." And that journey just kind of spiraled us to where we are today. And when I tell you, I had food out the door, people just coming in, making sure we're okay. Diller, a great friend of ours, offered to come into my house to decorate the Christmas tree while we were in surgery. Just that is what matters in life, are your people, and your health is very, very important. So
Were
that
you
long
in Austin? You were in
story,
Austin still, right?
I
You were
was in
still in
Austin.
Austin. Yeah.
Yes. And so we go through that. So I am juggling this job. I have a mortgage back where we moved from, my husband's not working. So everything kind of added up. It was a lot of stress at the time. And I said, "You know what? I don't think I can do this much longer. I don't think I can live like this."
Yeah.
And I was completely lost.
Yeah, and it would just change your life.
Mhm.
Honestly, I mean, and that's what happens to all of us who are listening to this conversation is we have things happen in our life like that, right? And it puts everything in perspective in that one single moment, right? And in that moment, oh my gosh, you went from doing a biopsy to like, oh my gosh, emergency surgery. He might not even make it, and half a lung now is gone, and he has cancer, and all the things. And the reason why we want to share this is what came out on the other side of that is something beautiful you guys created. Because then what? You guys moved to where you're Terralinga, right?
Mm-hmm.
Completely
Yeah.
switched gears. They
Yeah.
adapted your position so you could do that, right? And live freer. You started a business and then another business and all the things, right? And then now you got into market. You have multiple businesses, but you're living a life together now, building. How's your life today? What's
Yeah,
it like?
yeah. So we went through this whole year. So when Andy is healing, there's a lot of trauma that comes out of a health scare or cancer. And if you don't go through it personally, I don't think you quite understand the depth of it. So I had some type of PTSD from just being in that medical environment and being the only person there, right? And thinking about to lose this person I love so much. So that whole year, we took an entire year of just reflection. He was healing. He was going out to our place in far west Texas, which is our magical spot. And we would go out there, and I was going through COVID at the time. I had COVID, which was really scary for both of us, with someone with lung cancer and half a lung. Then my aunt got lung cancer and passed away. So I was grieving, which was really hard, and juggling a job too, going back and forth to South Florida. And so we looked at each other and said, okay, what is our life going to be? There's going to be sacrifices here. Mallory, you're going to, if we move to West Texas, where we want to be, where we've always dreamt of being, you're going to have to give up your job, right? And I loved my job. I love my people. And so that was a big decision I had to pray on. And so we went to far West Texas in Terlingua, right outside Big Bend National Park. And we looked at businesses to purchase, and we walked into this place called Long Draw Pizza, which my husband has restaurant background. And, I did all of that in college and when I was in my early 20s. And I walked into that building, and I looked at my husband and I said, uh-oh, we're doing this, aren't we? And it was just that place called us, and it was meant to be. And so I said, let's put in an offer, see what happens. If it works, it works. And sure enough, that offer went right on through. We closed on April 4th. So this April will be 3 years of owning this
3 years.
little pizza place.
But
Um,
Mallory, what's interesting in just in the essence of time, but you are like, you guys have changed where like you've changed that community with this, right?
Yeah, so we, just the business background of everything, we have grown this little pizza place. We tripled sales our first year. We are, close to $1 million in sales every year. And this little place is 600 square feet almost, and just an outdoor space. We've opened another restaurant. We own one in Belize, in Ambergris Key. So we have a restaurant group now. We have rental properties. We've got properties out here. We've got more business ideas that we plan on expanding on here. And we're just happy. We're living in our truth, right? It's not easy. It's not, every day is just this magical thing. It's not, because you are running businesses. We have employees. I take care of their families and make sure that there's food on their table, roof over their head. It's big responsibility. But we are living in our truth. And every day we can go to bed saying, this is the life we're meant to be living. And this is special, right? And you get to create from there. And I didn't have to give up my job with KW. I still work for Keller Williams
Yeah, they
in
just adjusted.
contracting
Yeah.
role. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so I guess the big point of this story is things happen. You can make sacrifices, and you can make really big decisions that are scary, and they will work out. They will absolutely work out. You just have to figure out what you want and then go get it.
I love this so much. So you guys, I wanted Mallory on to show you this. I was going to talk about branding. I think we don't need to go to branding today. I'm going to have you come back another time for that.
Yeah.
And actually, Mallory and I are going to do some women's retreats out in West Texas there. So we are going to
Yeah.
do, it's very magical. I haven't been, so we're going to do we'll invite this community as well. So, Mallory, I'll have you back on to go deeper on, but if people want to know more, because I think you're such a great role model of branding who you are. And that's so much like when you're authentic and you put yourself out there in an authentic way. And I think you're doing such a beautiful job, because now, like, all these advertisers, like, hey, will you wear this backpack when you go hike in Wex Test? You know what I mean? You've created a whole business around it. So I know that there's a couple tips that you had, and I can get that to everybody too. And I'll pull up that slide in a second. But what do you, just in a real quick answer, like, why is that important to you, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's just figuring out who you are to your core, right? And I know some people say, oh, social media, I don't want to be on camera, or I don't want to take photos, and it's all cringy. It can be, yes. But if you are out there to make an impact, you're out there to spread a message, and you're out there to, inspire one person, do it, because that's a platform to do it. So I get out there, and I talk about getting out there and hiking and being sober. I don't drink anymore, and just sharing my journey. And if it inspires one person in this world, I've done my job at the end of the day. So I
Yeah.
think it's really, really important to get out there and just be you.
I love you.
I love you too.
We call each other sisters. So listen, I don't know if you see the chat, but they're saying, "Wow, thank you, Mallory, for sharing. Glad your husband's well. How inspiring!" And Sandra's super proud of you too. And so we'll do more. There'll be more Mallory and MK. Okay. And let me pull up the slide real quick if people want to take a picture of it so that they can see what I'm talking about. And there's a way if you want to follow her. She's got great tips on that. If you would like to be more involved with building a brand that customers love, go ahead, take a picture of this. Follow, how can they follow you and find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Mallory Mundy Coaching on all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I do all of these. I post a video every day now with some type of tip for your business or your brand or help. So yeah, I'd love to connect with all of you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
And this
of course.
spring break, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, the pizza place is blowing up." So I'm so appreciate that you were able to hop on with us, and I know you have to hop off. So love you. And
Melanie, back to your little riddle over there. I was
okay.
cracking up because people will come to me and be like, "Where is your boss man?" So I love that video.
Oh, I'll tag you. I'll post that for
Perfect.
everybody. All right,
Awesome.
love.
Bye,
Thank
guys. Y'all
you.
have a wonderful time. Thank you, Melanie.